By now, you should begin to see how having one or two key successes in your past can translate into the abilities that we know employers are going to value. And while these assets may feel like small stuff to you because they happened in your life and they happened in your past, it's essential that you start to learn to talk about them in these terms. You can't just expect an employer to take your word for it that you're passionate about something or that you have excellent skills in something. They're going to want to know how. They're going to want to see some illustrations of how you can prove that you can do these things. And that's, again, what the resume is for. We're going to dig a little deeper on resumes right now. Your professional media resume should be able to show the things that are most important, positioning you as a developing media professional with a unique set of experiences that are relevant to the problem or the job at hand. If you're taking Journalism 215 this semester, and I think most of you probably are, you've probably heard about this, the inverted pyramid. It's a way to write news stories. The most important stuff comes first at the broad top of the pyramid. That may be your status as a college and media student. It may be your involvement in student media or a club. It may be a research project that you're working on or a set of skills that you've accumulated. But the resume needs to start with the most important stuff. Right now, if it's that you are a freshman studying a particular discipline in the College of Media, then your education will come first. If you're active in a student organization and you're promoting something through PRSSA, for example, then that maybe should come first as a piece of experience. If you get stuck on this, again, this is something I really want to help you with, but don't feel like you have to follow some set order where you start with experience and then go to education, or you start with skills and then go to certifications. Resumes don't have to follow a specific order. What we want to do is make sure that it's stacked like this inverted pyramid where the most important stuff is coming first. This is an example of what a resume might look like. And the important thing here is that, again, that you're not trying to follow a template. If you're starting with a template that lists work history first, and your work history is irrelevant to the job that you're applying for, then maybe you want to list your education first. Okay. A sample resume for a first-year media student is listed right here, and I'll zoom in on it. Forgive me for swooping around on it. But Maria Hudson here is a public relations and advertising intern that lists off a quick summary of her skills and qualifications. It leads with her education and includes some relevant college coursework, which I think is an excellent way, especially in the early going, to tell the employer what it is that you know how to do at this point. I think the titles of courses are not always helpful necessarily by themselves. And if you can include something, for example, that you worked on as a project in that course, it becomes even stronger. So for example, if you took a class called Principles of Advertising, but you researched how Red Bull as a brand interacts with its target audience, that's stronger. It tells them something more specific about you. Leadership activities are included under here. Member of a student organization that relates to a career in media. Achievements, and skills. Now, sometimes I think skills in sample resumes get put down too low. If you have a set of skills that really connect with the employer, I think sometimes it's okay to include them up at the top under your summary and let them know right off the bat, these are things that I'm really good at doing. And then you'll see that Maria here has listed her work experience last because she worked at Applebee's as a server and at a water park as a lifeguard. These don't necessarily relate to her objective, in becoming a advertising and public relations intern. So the point I'm trying to get across here is that the order is really important, and just because she was paid to do a job, it doesn't necessarily come first on Maria's resume. One more note on using job descriptions, as I really think we should, using job descriptions to help figure out what's most important to the employer, is that you want to make sure that when you're writing out what you did at a job, that you're not just writing down those day-to-day job duties. Like I mentioned before, for example, you may have listed, if you worked in retail, that you folded sweaters and you took inventory. Those things are definitely part of the job, but they don't say anything about your specific accomplishments. The difference between an accomplishment and a duty, or part of the job description and an accomplishment, can be illustrated pretty easily through a sports analogy that I like to use all the time. So let's say, for example, that we are talking about the job duties of a football quarterback. A quarterback is responsible for making passes, encouraging teammates, running the football, handing off to the running back, or calling audibles. And that's generic, right? I mean, these are the sort of things that we expect from any quarterback, even though we have a photograph of a specific QB here. It doesn't tell us anything that is specifically related to this quarterback's accomplishments, right? We know that the quarterback is responsible for doing these things, but this doesn't tell us how well the quarterback did those things. However, if we look at a quarterback's stats and achievements, for example, 6-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time NFL MVP, 63.8 completion percentage, 74,000 passing yards, and 22 rushing touchdowns. We are talking specifically about Tom Brady. And regardless of how you feel about Tom Brady, these statistics tell us a lot about his career. It doesn't tell us some of the negative things that he came under fire for in his career, but it does tell us about his accomplishments and sets him apart from every other quarterback who was responsible for taking snaps and calling audibles. That's what your resume needs to do. If you're writing stories or conducting interviews or researching campaigns, I want to know more, and so does the employer. What specifically are you writing about? How many stories are you doing? What ethical issues are you researching in your coursework? What skills and certifications do you have? Don't tell me what a reporter or an advertising professional does. Tell me what you do as a reporter or an advertising professional. I think the easiest way to separate job duties from accomplishments is through a model that career services professionals use and that I swear by, called PAR, P-A-R. And P-A-R stands for problem, action, and result. The problem is the issue that you were specifically assigned to solve, where you're supposed to research a specific topic, write on a specific person, or analyze a specific PR or advertising campaign. What was the problem that you solved? That's the first step, right, in defining it. It's not the end. It's not all of it, right? We know that the problem that a quarterback is supposed to solve is winning games. So that's not enough. We want to talk about strategy, tactics, and execution that allows you to do that. And that's what the next two parts are about. Action is the A in PAR. Actions are verbs. They tell us what you did. So what did you do? Did you review scholarly journals as part of your research? Did you analyze data about traffic patterns for your story about crosswalks in Morgantown? Did you research injuries sustained by players that wear a certain type of football helmet? Again, we want to be specific about the actions that you have taken. Actions are verbs: researched, created, developed, uncovered, verbs, words that show us an action. And the last one is a result. What came out of all of this? How do we measure your number of Super Bowls won or your MVP titles? It doesn't have to be anything that grandiose. It could be something as simple as the number of stories that you wrote. Did you publish a story that made the front page of the Daily Athenaeum? Did you help raise $500 for your sorority's annual fundraiser? Did you earn a certification in a piece of advertising technology or video editing software? What was the outcome of your actions? I realize this is a lot to think about, but this kind of critical thinking is what you have to do when you start to write your resume and your own personal branding campaign. We're going to pause here for one more in-class assignment. Think about the biggest achievement in your life so far. How would you tell somebody else about it? And remember, this isn't about the job description, but how you did something that got a result. For example, you could say, in high school, I was elected class treasurer. Our budget for decorations for the senior prom had been reduced to $200. I pulled together 3 student committees. One was responsible for asking members of the class to loan us decorations that they already owned. The second was responsible for asking the local party store to donate items or give us a reduced rate in exchange for sponsorship. The third organized a charity car wash to raise money. And by the end of the fall semester, our budget had increased to $300, and we were able to collect enough supplies to decorate the gym. So this is what I want you to think about. This is much more descriptive than just writing class treasurer on your resume. Take a minute and complete the problem, action, result worksheet, and we'll wrap up right after this.